Hi, Karen from Rafa Farms doing part 3 of our story today, and this should kind of wrap up things. This is the fun part. Things got a little easier eventually. So I finished up talking about why we made our first batch of soap. And then the end of 2018, we did our first booths where we went and sold product, and we hardly made anything in the beginning. Whatever we did make, we were putting into buying soap molds and trays to dry our soap on, things to get started. But the one thing that happened early on, there were a couple of women who sat down with me and said they thought that I needed to have more product. Like at first, all we had was bar soap. So pretty quickly, I figured out how to make liquid soap. And by the way, I don't know that I have seen anyone else selling liquid goat milk soap, so that's kind of unusual. So that was pretty cool. And it didn't take long, and somebody came up to one of my booths and said, "Hey, are these lotion bars?" And they got all excited, and then they realized it was soap and they walked away disappointed. So I went home that night and figured out what a lotion bar was. And the first lotion bar I made was lavender, and I put them in the rectangular bars that I still have today. And then Sarah and I both have some skin issues, and I break out really easily, and I'm always looking for ways to calm down my skin so I don't scratch so much. So I found things that I could put in my lotion bar for itchy skin. So I made my anti-itch lotion. And in 2020, that anti-itch lotion was my best-selling product. And I'll never forget, it must have been summer because I got a bug bite on my thigh. And I'm like, okay, I have something to test this on now. And when I get bit by a mosquito or any kind of bug, it swells up at least the size of a dime a lot of the times, and sometimes bigger, and it is quite the ordeal. So I took a picture of my leg and I put the lotion on, and I set a timer, and I believe I was setting it for 5 minutes. And every 5 minutes I took a new picture, and the swelling was gone in about 15 minutes. The itching was gone in about 15 minutes. And so that was the beginning of the anti-itch lotion. And since I've had people tell me it's helped for shingles, it's helped with eczema and psoriasis and sunburn, and of course bug bites, cuticles that won't heal. It's just the stories that people tell me over and over again are just amazing. We figured out kind of early that the booths were a lot of work and not a whole lot of profit. Then we started looking at farmers markets, and I contacted Maple Grove first. I had no idea how big these were. Maple Grove is a very large, well-organized farmers market. So I called them and they said, "Do you happen to have the goats?" They had just lost their vendor the previous year who had goats, and she sold more than soap. She had cheese and meat and stuff, but yeah, when they heard that I had goats, they said, "You are exactly what we're looking for." So it was just, the timing was just phenomenal. So we got into Maple Grove, then we got into the Plymouth Farmers Market, and then I started pursuing stores. The She Shed in Princeton was one of the first stores that we got into. Pretty early on, I started trying to get into a few co-op grocery stores. So first I approached Harvest Moon and got into there, and I remember being so over the top excited. Then I approached Lakewinds. Lakewinds has 3 locations. The first store they ever had was in Minnetonka, and that was the store that I joined when I was in my 20s, so it was just a dream to get there. They also have a store in Chanhassen, and then their most recent store that they opened was in Richfield. So they have 3 locations, and we got into those stores pretty early on. It was so obvious during these times how God was making a path for us. When we got into Lakewinds, they had a previous goat milk soap vendor who had just left. And So when I approached them, they were like, yeah, we're actually looking for somebody because our goat milk soap vendor just pulled out. So we started selling quite a bit of our liquid goat milk soap, and I started going through bottles faster. So I decided to start researching getting my bottles directly from China. So I found a contact and I got a sample, and I think that was in December of 2019. And I had made a decision that I was going to order, but they take some time off. They have a holiday that goes midway into like January. So they informed me that they'd be back on a certain date, and I was gonna place this order. I was planning on purchasing 4,000 bottles. Then COVID happened. I got a message from my contact in China, and she said that there was this virus going around. They were going to extend their holiday and shut down for COVID, and they weren't going to be able to ship the bottles for a few more weeks. And so then that date came, and they extended it more, and that date came and they extended it more. And finally, I was able to order my bottles, but I was running out. I was very low, and you couldn't get a bottle statewide anywhere. Like there was a shortage. So I started making hand sanitizer at the start of COVID. There was such a shortage of hand sanitizer. There were a couple of things that happened with COVID that really pushed our business in a very positive direction. Number one was the hand sanitizer thing. You couldn't get any here, so people were ordering hand sanitizer all over the United States. I put little bars of soap in with each hand sanitizer order, and a few weeks later, all of a sudden, I was selling soap all over the United States. Then the other thing that happened was that we all realized that if we wanted to have small businesses, that we would have to support them. So there was just a huge push to support small businesses, and people started buying more. So that was pretty phenomenal timing. Um, and then I just started keeping an eye open for any store. Pretty early on, there's a store in Minneapolis called Minnie and Paul. They make amazing gift sets, and they reached out to me and they asked if I did wholesale, and so they started buying first my orange soap, and then I think they buy black amber, and then eventually they started putting some of my hand sanitizer into some corporate gift sets, and that was a really huge help early on because their customers started finding me and ordering. And and early on I had more time than I had money, so I delivered a lot of orders in the beginning. And there was an order, this woman ordered product for herself and her sisters. So I have a red Prius, and I'm driving around in my little red Prius getting 50 miles per gallon delivering orders, and I delivered to one of the sisters on day one, and then day two I went to deliver to this other lady, and she saw me pull up. Her sister had told her I delivered in my little red car. So I pull up in my red car, and this lady comes running out. Are you the goat milk soap lady? It's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I don't deliver anymore. I don't have the time, but that was kind of, some moments in the beginning. This is a fun story. I needed a mop for my barn, and I couldn't afford to buy anything, so I always tried to get whatever I could for as cheap as I could. So I went on Marketplace and I found this little yellow mop bucket and a mop, and I contacted the owner, and he was way in Minneapolis, which was kind of far to drive for a cheap mop. But ironically, he was house sitting in Buffalo, so he was passing me on his way to Buffalo. So we met at the Holiday gas station, and I got out, and his name was Matt, and I said, Matt, I think it was $30, I don't recall, but I said, I have the cash for this transaction, but I also have some of the cash, and then so I made it a much better deal to take the soap. So I said, I have this soap that is worth more than what you're asking. It is goat milk soap, and it's really good for problematic skin and whatever. And Matt said, yeah, I'll take the soap. And I had no idea that he had eczema, but it helped his eczema. So he became a customer, and a few months went by, and I had an order for soap from somewhere in the United States. I can't remember where, but I had to reach out to the customer. I think there was an address problem, and as long as I was emailing, I said, I'm really curious how you found out about me, because I had never sold in that state. And this lady said, well, I have this friend named Matt, and he came to visit me, and he only uses your soap. So he brought your soap, and I tried your soap. And she said, no, I'm a customer because it's amazing. So there are all these little things that happened over the course of time that just drove things in the right direction. There's a Facebook group called Farm Direct to connect farmers and customers. And there's a lot of, meat being sold and chickens and eggs and, whatever. There was a post about somebody running a sale in their outside of their store in Stillwater, and they were inviting vendors to come and sell their wares. Yeah. So I reached out, and I wasn't really doing that kind of events anymore, but something, intuition, I just knew that I needed to do this. So I reached out, and her name is Kelly. She owns this store called Smith and Trade Mercantile. And I said I'd be interested, and how much does it cost? And she said, it's free. We just want to help out farmers. And so I went and set up and had a little sale in the yard outside of her store. And it was okay. It wasn't a bad thing. I just didn't do a whole lot of that anymore. But when I got all done, I said to Kelly, I said, do you by chance want to sell my product at your store? And she said, we'd love to sell your product. And so that was a huge connection, you guys. It's a really amazing store with really amazing products, and they just moved to a bigger location. I believe they have 100 vendors now, and there's such community there. They are actually doing a vendor event where we all get to go have a party, like we're employees, and we're not employees. So anyway, there's just all these little pockets of community wherever we go. So just kind of some history here. In 2019 was our first full calendar year. So 2019, we sold almost 2,000 bars of soap. In 2020, we sold over 5,000 bars of soap. And so 2021 started, and we made a kind of hard decision. We decided we weren't going to sell our milk to people anymore, that we were going to focus on getting our freezers full with milk for us as fast as we could, so that we could then stop milking our goats and have more time. We probably spent at least 2 hours a day, maybe a little more, milking goats every day. And Sarah did the majority of it, but Sarah's time is worth something, and I need her inside getting product ready to sell, whatever. So 2021, we decided to not sell milk, and we filled our freezers in about 3 months. So we have enough milk in our freezers this year to make 10,000 bars of soap, just in case. And during the winter, we make a lot of product. We're doing a little bit of catch up right now. We have to start making Christmas soap any day now. So there's that. But a lot of the soap we make in the winter months when we're not doing farmers markets. So that is a huge change for us. So for the first time in many years, if we get invited to a grad party or a wedding or whatever, we don't have to leave at 9 and go home and milk anymore. It's just such a nice break. So we get a little bit of a break and then in the spring, we have to obviously be there a lot with the babies and milking, and start all over again. But that's been a really big change this year. So it's really come a very long way. I've gone from a single mom who was, really, really struggling and I wrapped up my divorce the end of 2019, and it's totally changed. It was long drawn out 2.5 year ordeal because I guess he just wanted to make us as poor as we possibly could. Something just happened recently. I have a laptop that I've been limping along with for 3 years that started really not working well. And a few days ago, I couldn't even click on some things. So I walked into Best Buy and I was going to purchase a laptop, and I told the salesperson, I said, I want keys that are backlit. So when I'm working at night, I don't have to have lights on. I want a little side keyboard so I can the number keypad. So it was so weird because I was able to walk in and go, these are the things I need, and he said, do you have a budget? And I said, not really. I just need what I need, So I was able to drop over $1,000 on a laptop, and then have this moment where I was fighting back tears because I was able to drop over $1,000 on a laptop. So we are really enjoying this season where we are way more established and we can focus on life a little bit. We are getting ready to go on a very much needed and deserved vacation. Sarah is turning 18 in 1 month. I can't believe it. So I told Sarah she could pick the vacation the way that we get to go on, and she would like to go see a dolphin named Hope in Clearwater, Florida. This dolphin has a prosthetic tail. I believe Sarah saw the movie about Hope. It's called Dolphin Tale, and Sarah saw the movie as she was relearning to walk after brain cancer and brain surgery. So I think that's had kind of an impact on her. So Sarah is getting to plan her first vacation that she gets to plan, and gets to do all the booking and everything. So it's we're really looking forward to that. And then I'm going to pick a vacation for me, and we're going to have a great year. Things have kind of changed now. I do not really have the time to try to market to new stores. So if you know a store that you think we should be at, they are welcome to reach out, and we can certainly do wholesale at stores. It's just so comical because a few months ago I tried to get into the Wedge. We got into Linden Hills at the start of COVID. So Linden Hills is a co-op, and I believe that's Edina, or it could be South Minneapolis. And then just recently the Wedge reached out, and we just got into the Wedge, which is the mother of all co-op grocery stores. So it's kind of comical that we're at a point now where I don't take the time to try to get in anymore, but I am now hearing from people who want to carry our products. So we are very open to that. We'd love to be in your store, or a store that if you know somebody who has a store. So yeah, just go ahead and contact us. We are on Instagram and Facebook, and you can message us those ways. And yeah, so we would like to thank you all so much for your business. It means so much to us. It really does. One last thing that I want to mention, we did a little bit of a price increase not that long ago because I am paying Sarah a little bit more as she turns 18 and transitions more into working and less into doing school. But we are making a place at our farm. We've decided for our goats that spend their career, if they spend their life making milk for our soap, when they are too old to be pregnant again and making milk for us, we are going to retire them at our farm, and they get a spot, and they will never be meat, and they will never go anywhere else. And I'm not saying we won't sell goats to other people who want to get started on goats, but I'm talking Lucy and Tootie and the ones who have been with us from the beginning, and the ones that we keep and we milk forever. They will retire at our farm, and we are just really happy with that decision to be able to have a place for them. So, yeah, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching our video. And if you could please like us and follow us on YouTube. And if you're on Instagram, if you could please follow us there, we would appreciate that. And we do sales pretty often. So if you're on those platforms, we post about those sales. And if you get on our emailing list, we email about those sales. So thank you so much for watching. All right, bye-bye.